The thing about this watch is that it has not one, but two features to showcase. Wisecracking know-it-alls would readily tell you that you can't have it all. I don't exactly agree with my wife all the time, but every time I get a Venezianico in the mail, it always feels like I am getting it all. This one, the Nereide Avventurina, is not just a unique watch, but also has a certain flair to it. So, not only are you getting it all, you're getting some more. Find out how. Uniqueness is a highly valued quality that people seek to have. You can even say that the human consciousness was designed to identify such a quality and even instinctively looks for it. A tiger's stripes are strikingly majestic unto itself, but realizing that no two patterns are alike makes it a little bit more special. This Nereide evokes this emotion in us in more ways than one. Of course, it retains all the great features of the design, such as this lovely sounding bezel, along with that pleasing form and beautiful finish. All of these combine to deliver a solid dive watch that is clearly superior for its price point, but not as taxing to attain as a Black Bay or Seamaster. This Nereide retails at about $850, placing itself well above the microbrand average of $500. It does offer a bit more than the usual Asian components. Instead of a Seiko or Citizen caliber, a Swiss Celita movement is housed inside this case. There are still some things that I would rather prefer and see from other micros. This integrated rubber strap does not have a quick release mechanism, so you'll need some tools to swap bands. As someone who swaps bands every 5 seconds, I would still rather use my fingers while they're still attached to my hands. Like me, fans have grown to love Venezianico watches because of their strong design language. This refinement is also extended to this strap, an area where many brands tend to pull from the market shelves. You can actually see this harmony from the lugs and not merely on the buckle. This seamless transition is possible because both the case and band was drawn up together. On the wrist, it reminds me of that octopus that tried to propose to my cuff. It conforms to your shape, but sorta has a life of its own because of its stiffness. This also reminds me of a Seamaster strap, a complement to Venezianico. But like all 7 of you know, I love me some metal bands on my skin. And arguably, because you also know that I like to argue a lot, Venezianico's Canova bracelet is one of the most beautiful bracelets out there. Its subtle form and curves is just gorgeous. How does it look like on an Arten sailcloth strap? Well, lovely if I may say so. It sort of looks like a 50 fathoms that tries to gatecrash the Golden Globes. Bear in mind that this also wears big since it uses a 22mm strap. I tried putting it on this straight cut ostrich strap to be a bit more adventurous. While I normally would love a brown strap blue dial combo, this one seems like a detail overload. Now let's switch back to the default and compare it with other watches that could be in your watch box. Okay, I might be reaching there for a bit because my watch box is not your typical assortment of watches, but there's some interesting comparisons here. Against my first Nereide Tungsteno, the definite upgrade is evident on the case shape and finish. The chamfers of the new model elevates the aesthetics a lot. Many may think we're grasping for millimeters here, but shave off some of it and it translates into a slimmer profile for this newer version. Next, let's pit it against the hot new Seiko diver of the moment, the Seiko 5 Sports GMT. Although both are 42mm in diameter, the Nereide clearly projects itself larger because of its thicker bezel and much longer lug distance. The thickness is a different situation though, as the Nereide employs a closed case back, slimming down the case a little. The Seiko 5 Sports GMT on the other hand has a display crystal that many would point out to be unnecessary. Yes, it does add a bit of thickness as well. Now against my special prototype Zelos Starlight, I can see a difference between the two Aventurines. The Nereide has a clearly more blue hue to it than the deep dark glimmer of my Zelos. Let's now set all of these aside and dive into the details of this Venezianico diver. From afar, you cannot deny the glamorous impression that this piece leaves with all of the extremely polished surfaces. This is then made to stand out even more with this rubber strap that's designed not just to extend the case, but also showcase it to grab more attention. With all of the branding spread all over the strap, it's also very clear that it could stand on its own. From the buckle to the ring keepers to the tips of the rubber, it all has this Venezianico flair molded into it. Moving back to the case, the crown is signed with the brand's emblem and it's beautifully framed by the polished chamfers. I still can't get enough of this redesign that's a clear departure from the raw presence of the previous case. Then the case back that's mounted by 5 screws rather than being threaded on helps keep the image upright. Finally, let's talk about that dial. That dial sparkles like the Starry Night with the bezel helping to boost that contrast. It's a feast to the eyes when the mirror finish of the bezel reflects so much light. It either leaves the deepest shadows or a blinding light around the dial. As you're sucked in closer, the beautiful metal flakes baked into the aventurine comes alive with every ray of shine passing over it. It's this material's signature charm that is well appreciated by enthusiasts worldwide. Yes, its pattern will be unique for every piece. But on top of this one-of-a-kind quality, it's also very hard to produce. Make one small mistake and you'll be throwing away half of the batch because it's brittle and delicate. Don't let it pull off at the right moment, and yeah, you might as well just redo the whole batch altogether. But get it just right, and you're treated to one exotic light show on your wrist. The thing about this watch is that it has not one, but 2 features to showcase. This bezel is made with tungsten, a metal that's much harder than steel and nearly scratch resistant. Venezianico delivers a stunning diver that's got the looks and lasts a lifetime. Suffice to say, it's rare to see tungsten get featured on a watch because, it's not exactly a swim through the pond to mill one. But equally exceptional is to have both tungsten and aventurine on the same dial. Call it a finger on every pie, or double dipping, or whatever appendage-related metaphor. You can have it all with the Aventurina. Have it all as in the other unsavory stuff as well. Now let me address the common show banning issue by most people against me in this channel. See, I'll do something here that I don't really need to admit. These 49mm lug distance watches are too big for my wrists. If you had to ask, my wrist is 6¼ inch flat. These Nereides are much more at home on manlier, coffee roasting 7-inch and something watch pilot wrists. Now, admission aside, it's not going to prevent me from enjoying these watches. Because sometimes it's not just about the fit. It's also about the uniqueness and flair of the piece. And that is the Nereide Avventurina from Venezianico. It's one of the rarest and most unique watches in the world right now because of that aventurine dial that is unique onto itself that's coupled with that tungsten bezel. It's a glamorous and flair-rich watch and you can find it only in Venezianico. If you want to get to know more about Venezianico, click on the video right here on top. And if you want more micro brands, just click on the playlist below.